Hi everyone. Today we are going to be making this cardigan. It is a striped cardigan. It is worked from the sleeve to the center on both sides. So you're making two sections, seaming it up the back, if you can see that, and then putting a ribbing around the open edges. So I'm going to show you how to work this. This is a single crochet ribbing. So you're working back and forth for the ribbing, and then we will be attaching the cardigan part, working up in a flat piece, working up, working this piece in a flat piece, and then you seam it together on the sides and up the sleeves. So I'm going to show you how to put this together, but before that, I wanted to show you how you're going to measure for your cardigan. So take a soft measuring tape. This one's really cute. It's a bear. I love it. All right, so the first thing that you want to measure, and write these down so that you don't forget them. And I have my notes here so I don't forget what exactly I need to show you to measure. So the first thing that you're going to measure is your bust. So you are going to wrap this around. This is really good to do in front of a mirror so that you can make sure that uh, your measuring tape is horizontal to the ground so that you are making sure that you get the right section. So you're going to be measuring at the largest part of your bust here. So right here, this little fluff ball is a little bit in the way. All right, so I have 38 inches for my bust. So I've got 38 inches, so I'm going to write that one down. And then the next one I'm going to do is the length that you want to make it. So what I'm going to do is go from the center of my neck here. If you have somebody to help you measure from the back of your neck, you can do that as well. But if you are doing it on your own, you just go to that center spot on your neck and you reach it out, and I grab it with my fingers like that. And then I look and see where I want it to land. So I want it to land at the 27-inch mark. So that is going to be my measurement, is 27 inches from the middle of my neck to my wrist. So you write that one down. And now for this one, because it is worked in one panel and you are working these pieces all in one, you have to measure how long you want it. So where you want it to land on your body. So what I'm going to do is loop it around my back and go down to the part of where I want it, and then see what that measurement is. So I've got 44 inches right there. All right, so the length that I need to make this panel that wraps all the way around my back is going to be 44 inches long as I work it. And I'll show you the structure of it as we go. But what the other thing that you need to know is the ribbing plays a part in your measurement too. So when you are making your colored piece, you are going to be doing measuring it as you go in sections, which I'm going to share with you when you reference your measurements. But your cuff, since we are working this comes into play. So when you are measuring this section to this section where it splits into a longer side, that is one measurement, and then this is another measurement. So to know how long you make the piece from here to here, is what you would do is take your bust measurement that you made, and I'm doing it with no positive ease. So positive or negative ease is how you want it to fit. So if you want it to be baggy, then you are going to be doing a positive ease, which is adding inches to that bust measurement. And if you want a negative ease where you want it to fit more tight, then you would do a negative ease, which would be minusing inches from your bust measurement. So the bust measurement that I got is 38 inches, and I don't want there to be positive or negative ease, so I'm going to do my measurements for 38 inches. So what you would do for each panel, because this panel is a quarter of the entire bust measurement that you get, that is the length that I'm going to do for that piece. So whatever your bust measurement is, you're going to cut that in half and half again so that you get the quarter measurement for it. So when you are working, once you're finished with your arm, then you will know the length that you need here. So the first thing you want to do is take your bust measurement, cut it in quarters. Okay, so a quarter of that for me of 38 inches would be 9.5 inches. I'm just going to go with the 9 inches here because I do have this ribbing that comes into play as well, and that's about 2 inches. So if I take half an inch, half an inch, half an inch, half an inch off of that, then that equals what I need it to equal. So I know this is the worst part of it. Just stick with me. But okay, so you're going to cut that in quarters. So I'm going to do 9 inches from here to here. And then we found our measurement from our wrist to the center of our neck. That amount is, so mine is 27 inches, and I'm going to minus 9 inches from that. So 18 inches is the remainder of that. That is what I need from my cuff of my sleeve all the way to where my armpit is. That is the measurement that needs to be from there. I hope that's making sense. So all in all, this 18 inches plus this 9 inches equals the measurement that I took from my wrist to the center of my neck. So that is the measurement of the full piece that you need, is the 27 inches, and that's how you break it up with that. And then for your 44 inches that you have here, you want to make sure that you are factoring in your ribbing on the bottom. My ribbing is 2 inches on the bottom, so it would be 2 inches on the back, 2 inches on the, or sorry, 2 inches on the back, 2 inches on the front, and that is 4 inches. So the amount that I measured here, 44 inches from here all the way to the back here, is 44 inches, which means the piece that the colored piece that I'm going to be crocheting is going to be 40 inches wide. So when you extend your piece after working your sleeve and you extend your piece here, from this section all the way around to this section is going to be your 40 inches. So just make sure that you have this measuring tape as you're going, and also as you get your pieces completed, try them on as you go to make sure that everything is matching up the way that you need it to, because it's much easier to adjust before it's all put together. And also, I'm going to show you in the video that I connect them with stitch markers. When I have these two pieces done before I connect them, I connected them with stitch markers, and then I tried it on to see if it was the fit that I wanted, minus the ribbing, because the ribbing is added later. So you go from your wrist all the way through the colored piece, then attach them with stitch markers, try it on, see how it fits, and then know that you're going to have that extra ribbing on the pieces that you have. So I hope that that's helpful, and let's get started on how to create the cardigan. All right, and the way that we start this cardigan is from the sleeve. So we're going to be working from the sleeve to the center and then from the other sleeve to the center and seaming up the middle. And we'll go through that when we get to that point. But we're going to start the ribbing for the sleeve and the ribbing around the wrist. So that's what we're going to start with. We're going to start with a slip knot. And we're going to chain 9. All right. And then if you can see, this yarn is a little dark, but on the back side of the chain, you see those little ridges there? We're going to work into that. It gives it a cleaner edge to connect the ribbing to itself, because what we do is you make a strip of ribbing, and we're going to make the sleeve, so it's going to be flat, and then what you do is you pull the ends together to make the ribbing, like where you would have around your wrist. That seam there is what you're going to connect. So I like to work in those back bumps to make a cleaner connecting spot. But if you don't want to do that, you don't need to. It's just one of the things I prefer. So then we're going to work in the second bump there. So it's the second chain just on the back bump. So a single crochet. It's a little bit tougher to get your hook through that ridge in the back, but I do think it looks really nice. But again, preference, if you want to go and change the normal way, you can also do that. It's not going to harm um, sewing up your sleeve at all. So we're just single crocheting all the way across that chain. All right, and we chained 9, and then remember we skipped 1 to start, and then we single crocheted in the next 8, so we should have 8 single crochets. There. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I've got 8 there. Then we're going to chain 1, and we're going to turn. And just like in our tutorial for the single crochets in the back loop only, that's what we're going to do here. So back loop only is what we're going to use to make the ribbing of the sleeve and the ribbing surrounding the rest of the cardigan. So it's just the same as that tutorial, but if you didn't watch it, I do have the link in the description, but it's pretty simple. You're just going to go into the back loop of this stitch here. It's going to go all the way across. All right. And then chain 1 and turn and go back across. And you're just going to do this back and forth until the strip that you're making reaches all the way around your wrist. You might want to do it a little bit loose instead of real snug, but it is whatever your preference is. I like it a little bit loose because that gives a more blousey sleeve. If you do it tighter, it's going to give you a tighter sleeve. So we're going to just go as far as you want around this. Mine will end up being 26 rows back and forth, but that also will depend on the thickness of your yarn and your tension with your hook. So just do whatever is comfortable as far as your wrist goes. And I'll meet you back here when I am at that point. All right, so there is my ribbing for my wristband. Mine is about 8 inches wide, and it wraps around like that. So mine just touches. I'm not stretching it. If you want it looser, then you can make it a little bit wider, but that will make your sleeve more blousey. But if you like that, that's perfectly fine. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do
single crochets across the top of this ribbing so we have something to work into that's more direct than just the ribbing ends. We're going to crochet into the end of each row here. That's where we're going to put our stitches. So in our first row here, I'm going to put one single crochet. I have chained one. So I was working this way. I just finished this row and I'm just going to turn it like this and I'm working across this way. So my first single crochet is going to go into the side of this row. That. And then the next one, I'm going to do two single crochets. And the next, that's going to be one. And then two single crochets in this next end. And one in the next. So it's just rotating one single crochet and the next end two single crochet. So it's one and then two, one and two, one and two, all the way across. And I'll meet you back when we're at the end. All right, so I have finished my single crochets all the way across the top of this ribbing. I did one and then two, one and two, one and two in every other row. It was in the end of each row it was one, and then the next row was two, one, two, one, two, one, two. So one, two alternating all the way across. I was shooting for 28 stitches. So I did adjust mine a little bit to reach to the end. There was that one was one, two, one, and one. So we're going to tie that off. I just did one chain and I'm going to pull through. Next row, I want to do in a peach color. Um, if you don't want to change colors and you want this to be all the same color, just keep going with this. You don't need to tie it off because we're going to be working just back and forth across here for this sleeve anyways. And so we're going to go into our first stitch of the ribbing here of those single crochets that we did. We're going to do a standing double crochet. So if you don't know how to do that, that is wrap your yarn around once. So you've got your slip knot and then you've got your yarn wrapped around once. Hold it tight because it will flip around if you don't hold on to it. So then you're going to go right into that stitch that you want to start in. Wrap your yarn around, still holding those threads tight with your finger on the hook. So you're just going to get that nice and tight. I hold the tail down here and I go through like a regular double crochet, that pull through two, and then you have a standing double crochet. If you don't want to do this, then you can just attach your yarn with your slip knot there with a slip stitch and chain three. So now we are going to chain two. We're going to skip one and we're going to double crochet into this next stitch. And with this, I am going into the front and the back loop of this ribbing here. All right, so that is our double, our chain two, double. Now we're going to double into this next stitch. And I'm going to chain two again, and then we're going to skip a stitch and go into this next one. And we are going to be putting two double crochets into this next stitch. One and two. And we're going to chain two again. skip that next stitch and double crochet into this next one and double crochet into the next stitch as well. Chain 2, slip this stitch, skip this stitch and double crochet 2 in this same stitch here. All right, we're just going to do that across. So it's going to be chain 2, 2 double crochets, 1 in each stitch, chain 2, 2 double crochets into the same stitch, chain 2, and in between any chain space that you have, you're skipping 1. So that's what we're going to do that whole way across. So chain 2, skip 1, double crochet into the next 2 stitches, chain 2, skip this stitch, and we're going to do 2 double crochets into this next. Chain 2, skip that stitch, 2 double crochets into the next 2 stitches, and then we're just going to do that all the way across. All right, so I have gone all the way across and I am at my last space or my last 2 stitches. So I have chained 2 and then I'm going to skip that stitch and do 1 double crochet in that last stitch right there.
So our goal for this first row is to begin and end in just 1 double crochet, so that there's one at the beginning of the row and the end of the row. That is why I did the 38 stitches on that base row there instead of completing that second single crochet in that last green row, because we want to end and start in 1 double crochet.
So if you are completing your color, you're not going to cut off, you're just going to keep going. But if you are changing colors, I'm going to cut this yarn. I'm going to leave a little bit more than normal. All right, for the extra long tail, the reason I want to do that is because when we are going to sew our sleeve together, instead of taking just one color for this because the sleeve has stripes and we're going to have um, different stripes throughout, to have one solid color make up the seam of this would mean that you would have one solid color with like stitches through, and I don't like that look. And if you want to do it that way, that's perfectly fine, but I'm going to show you how we're going to sew up the edges with these tails. That's why we want to leave extra, because we're not just going to be sewing we're not going to be weaving in our ends just with this. We're actually going to be connecting our edges together with it as well. So just leave extra long tails if you are color changing. So then we're going to flip our work. Our next color is brown. And we're going to do the last thing that we did in the last row to attach our yarn, and that's a standing double crochet. And again, if you are not doing a color change, then you're just going to chain 5, because that's going to count as your double crochet in your chain 2 space, because we're going to do a double crochet and chain 2 space. So if you're keeping the same color, you're going to chain 5. If you are attaching a new color, you can either attach your new color here with a slip stitch and chain 5, or you can do what I'm going to do, and that is the standing double crochet. So in that last stitch there, we're going to do our standing double crochet, chain 2. We're going to skip anytime in this pattern, anytime that we chain 2, we're also going to skip the chain 2 underneath. We're only going to be working in these double crochets that we have here. So we've got our chain 2, double crochet into this next double crochet, and into the next one. Going to chain 2, work into these next 2 double crochet, 1 and 2, chain 2, and double crochet into our next to our next 2 double crochets. I'm going to do that all the way across. I have completed this row and I did my chain 1 and I'm just going to pull my yarn through. We're going to flip our work. My next color is doing 2 rows of yellow. So again, I am going to do a standing double crochet in this one to attach my new color. If you don't want to attach with a standing double crochet, it is just a slip stitch into here and chain 5. And also if you are carrying on with the same color, it's going to be the same thing, just chain 5. And we are going to repeat these rows all the way up to the length of what you have measured for your sleeve, the length that you are measuring for your sleeve. Mine is going to be 18 inches. So I'm going to go up to 18 inches. And then I will meet you back here when I am done with that. But that is how you're going to do your rows. You're just going to go back and forth the exact same way. If you want to follow the same color layout that I have, I'm going to put that color in the description so that you can see my color layout and you can follow that if you'd like, or you can make up your own. It's really depends on whatever you'd like. You can also do it all solid. And I will be back when I have reached my 18 inches. And the 18 inches is from the end of the cuff to the top of the piece. So 18 inches that way. And I will meet you back here when I am finished with that. One thing I did forget to mention that if you are doing a carrying the same color all the way through, when you do that chain 5 on your ends, I forgot to let you know that you are going to be doing your last double crochet into the 3rd chain from that spot. So that's going to be, like, if you were going back this direction, that would be your 1, 2, 3rd chain right there. Did I count that right? Let's see. 1, 2, 3. We want that one right there. That's your 3rd chain. That is considered the top of what a double crochet would be. So then you would work your last stitch into that one right there. Right? Now I'll meet you at the end of our length of our sleeve. Okay, I am at my 18 inches here. Just measure it real quick. So I've got 18 inches down here at the bottom of the cuff. All right, so for the next section, so we have finished the sleeve and the body is the part that we're going to work next. So that is another section here, but we're moving up, still attaching to this. So how we're going to do that is I'm going to take some of my next color, which is going to be brown. And with a slip knot, I am going to attach to this end stitch here, just with a slip stitch. And then I am going to chain 46. But this is the to make up the length from the front of your waist to the back of your waist and that you're going for. So my number is 46 because I'm going to do in between um, in between a crop and a like just below the belt. So 46 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm making sure to not do these too tight because I don't want it to be bunched up. So I did my 46 and I'm going to do one more chain and then I'm going to cut my yarn and just pull that through. So I'm only going to be tightening that extra 47th chain right there. And then that's my 46 right there. All right, so on the other end, what we're going to do is the same idea. We're going to do our 46 slip stitch to the end here and 46 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, I'm at the 46 chains, and then we're going to do the same thing that we did with our color that carries up. So we're going to do our 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That counts as our first double crochet and our chain 2. And that is going to go into the 6th chain from the hook. We're going to do our next double crochet. And then another double crochet in the next chain. Chain 2, skip 2 chains here and double crochet into the next chain. And the next one after that. So we've got 2 double crochets. We're going to chain 2, skip 2, 1, 2, and 2 double crochets into the next 2 chains. So what it should look like is this, where you've got your chain 5 here that counts as your double crochet, chain 2, and then you've got your 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, chain 2. And every time you do a chain 2, you're skipping over those 2 chains on that chain strip that we're working on. So you're going to do that all the way across the chain, all the way across your piece here, and all the way across this other chain that you have connected. And we are going to do that for the body. And we're going to work the amount of rows that you need to reach for that uh, width of your body section. Whatever your measurement was, that's how far you need to work. I believe mine was 15 rows, but just keep working your rows back and forth until you reach that measurement that you need. Okay, I have both panels done. So what they're looking like. Sleeves, both sides. You can see all of those fringes. So what I did
after I completed these is I folded them over in half. So how you're working from the sleeve, and we worked all the way up. We did our extension for the body, and then I folded it over. So that was our two. I have it clipped right here, but see, that all unfolds all the way to that seam there. So what I did was I connected all of that with stitch markers so that I could get a good idea. I did try this on just to see if it was laying where I wanted it to lay. I did put a stitch marker where I want to seam up to, which is right here. And this section here is going to be where my neck falls. And I wanted it to go down a little bit. So when I fold this in half, this section that I left for my neck is about 4 inches. All right, and so we are going to seam up this back panel and the side panel, or the side section. I'm going to seam that up, and we're going to seam up the side. So I'm going to show you how to do all of those. And for seaming up the back of the panels together and both sides, you are just going to use your needle with your yarn and just loop through the top of each of those stitches all the way up to the point that you've marked for your neck. And then you're going to stop there. For the sleeves, for the ribbing, you're going to do the same thing you did for the back and the side. You're just going to take your yarn and sew along that ribbing there and just matching those stitches all the way to attach right here. And then these, if you wanted to do the same color and just take the green all the way through the arm like that, the same color of your ribbing all the way through your arm, you can do that. But what I don't like is when this color is sewing pieces together that are not the same color, because then you see that green string all the way through. And I want to avoid that. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do with this one instead. And it's a lot of ends to weave in, but we're going to use these ends to our advantage. And we're going to also use them to help us attach the sides of the sleeve as well. So I have my first row here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie these together. I'm going to do three knots. And see how that is now attached there, but we're going to secure it tighter. Now, so what we're going to do is take our yarn needle again, and we're going to weave in our ends and also attach those stitches a little bit closer. Right, so I'm going to go into this stitch and into that stitch and just tighten it up a little bit and do 2 passes through that stitch there and just connect that color. And then I'm going to weave in my ends. Just do the 3 passes. Just do 3 passes for weaving in your ends. Here. It's 2 and it's 3, and then I'm going to snip the end of that one. I'm going to do this other side. Because those are woven in, you don't really need to weave in this side into the 2 stitches from either panel. But if you want to, you can. I'm just going to go this opposite direction. Just do 3 passes this way as well.
1, 2, 3. So now what we have done is we have made the illusion, because we ended our rows on a single double here and a single double here. Putting them together makes the two doubles together. So it makes it look like those two that were just seamed together are also a two double. So that's the goal. That's why we end on a single double on the ends. I'm going to do this one next. You can see it again. So three knots just to secure it. And then weaving in our ends is just going to secure it more. So then from that side of the panel to this side of the panel, I'm just going to grab some yarn from both sides and just pull it snug. You don't need to make it really tight, just for it to close in that gap there. Then I'm going to do 3 passes to secure that end. And then clip our yarn. And then the other tail for that color as well. If you made your cardigan all one solid color, you don't need to do it this way, obviously, because you won't have all the ends to secure in and to weave in. So you could just take the same color that you used for your cuff and go all the way up. And like I said before, if you want to do that with this pattern as well, you are free to do that. It's totally your call. I'm just saying the reason I don't like it. But also, the underside of your sleeve is not seen very often. So that is a very hidden part of your cardigan as well. So it really is a preference thing. All right, so we've got our two there, two there. And then with this one, because we did 2 rows, our thread is on the same side. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to thread that onto my needle here. I'm going to work into this other side and just do some extra stitching around here just to secure that a little bit more. Knot type thing there. And then I'm going to weave my ends in 3 times. And that'll secure it just fine. The same with the second tail. So you go in the opposite side. Loop those around a couple times. Maybe go through that loop and give it a little tug there. Nice and snug. And then weave in my ends by doing 3 passes. Snip my yarn. And we are getting that side for the sleeve all sewn up. It looks really nice. And I'm just going to keep on going all the way up both sleeves. And before we can do our ribbing around the base and around the collar of the cardigan, we need to weave in these ends as well. So while you're doing your sleeves, go ahead and weave in your ends down here. Yay, okay, we are all tied in. All of our edges or ends are tied in. Oh, I don't know about you, but I absolutely hate weaving in ends, but it's done. So what we're going to work on now is the ribbing around the bottom and the ribbing around the side around the collar and then all right, so I'm going to use the same color as the ribbing on the sleeve, but you can use whatever color you want. If you prefer a different color, you can mix it up. You can go with any of these colors. You could do the body of your cardigan as one color and the cuffs and the ribbing a different color. It's totally up to you. This is your creation. It's lots of fun. All right, I'm going to flip this around. So I have the bottom here. I'm going to start the bottom left of the cardigan. So if you were wearing it, that's the opening. This is the bottom of it. So I'm going to start here and I'm going to start in the edge of this stitch right here. I'm just I'm going to do a standing single crochet. So it's the same thing as our standing double crochet. You're just going to put your hook into that space, wrap around your yarn, bring up two loops or bring up a loop right there. So you've got two loops on your hook, wrap around and bring through two. And that is your standing single crochet. So we have um, a stitch there. We're going to do two stitches into this double crochet, and it can be any loop that you can pick up. Because there's no real spot to go into. Just need to do two stitches per double crochet, and then we're going to double crochet into where that chain is, like at the end of it. So that was two stitches for that one. I'm going to do two stitches for this next stitch. And so we're just doing two single crochets per double crochet all the way around the bottom of the cardigan. So what we're making here is something for us to work the ribbing into so that it's all the same all the way around and it looks nice and uniform. So I'm going to work all the way around the bottom of the cardigan and I'll meet you when we get back to this spot. All right, we are all the way back around and now we're going to do the ribbing. With the sleeves, we did a chain 9, but I would like the ribbing on the bottom and the side of the cardigan to be thinner. So we're going to chain 7 so that we have 6 single crochet wide ribbing on the bottom. And I'm also going to do that same size here. If you would like to do something different, you can feel free to do that as well. So we are going to chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I'm just moving this. This is the inside of the cardigan now. I have flipped it. So this is the outside, the side that we were just working, on. And I have flipped it around because we're going to work up that direction. And we're going to be going in both loops anyways. So it doesn't matter what direction we go since we have our base stitch here. It doesn't matter if it's on this side or this side because of that, but where we ended, it's just the right direction to go up this way. All right, so for the ribbing again, we are going to, I prefer to go in the back ridges, but you can go in the front if you like. So we're going to skip the first stitch, the first chain, and work a single crochet into the next 6 chains, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, so that is the start of our ribbing. That's going to be the width of it. So how we connect as we go with this ribbing is what we do, it'll we'll be going into the next 2 stitches here. We're going to slip stitch into that next one and also into the next one after that. So we've got 2 slip stitches into this base single crochet that we made on the edge of the cardigan. So we're going to flip this around and we have those 2, that one and that one are our slip stitches. So we are going to skip those and we're going to work into the 6 here. You can always count back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and know that that's the one that you're going to be starting in. These 2 are your slip stitches. And we're going to go in the back loop only for our ribbing. And just like our normal ribbing that we did for the sleeve, it's just going to chain 1 and turn, and the back loop only of these single crochets as well. All right, there's 6. And we have already worked into this one. You can see that that one is connected there. So we're going to slip stitch into this one and this one. So slip into that one, slip into that one, and then we're going to flip it around. We're going to skip our 2 slip stitches there and work into our single crochet and go back loop only, 6 across. Chain 1 and turn and do our 6 singles across. I'm going to do one more of the joining with the 2 slip stitches just so you can see it again. That's our 6. And we already worked into that one from the previous row, so we are going to work in these 2. If you want to use stitch markers to help you remember which one is what, like you could put a stitch marker into this one. So you know you worked into that one last with your slip stitch. And then on your return back, when you get back over here, you know that you already worked into that one. And you can also do that with your your first single crochet here. Use stitch markers whenever you are having trouble finding your place. It is a big help and they are, removable. So it's never going to harm you to use stitch markers. Nobody will ever know.
And even if they did, it's not a problem. So go ahead and finish all the way around the base, and then I will show you how we do around the opening of the cardigan. And I have finished the ribbing on the bottom of the cardigan, and I have snipped off my yarn and tied a little knot there. And how we are going to do around this part of the cardigan is we are going to connect our yarn here. But before I do that, I just want to show you this neck section that we have. This is the direction that you'll see it. When you come down around here, there are going to be, you have a chain on this side and then a chain on this side. You can work from here to here if you'd like, or you can work one here, and then one here. It's whatever you feel like your spacing needs. You can do whatever works best for you. For me, I will probably put one in that center space, but I also need to look at it and see. But it is preference of whatever you think fits the best for your cardigan. And it really will not change the look of it one way or another. You can do either one and it would end up being perfectly fine. All right, and we are going to start on this side. So if you're wearing the cardigan, this is going to be the right hand side. So we are going to start with a standing single crochet. That is going to be put your yarn or your hook in that stitch, pull up a loop. You have 2 loops on your hook there, wrap around and take through 2. You're going to work into this next stitch and single crochet all the way across your ribbing here. So you should have 5 stitches. And then this is the end of that row that we worked into the cardigan. So I'm going to put a 6th one there. And then you're just going to work in the top of each stitch and each chain all the way around the neck of the cardigan. I'm going to work in the back loop only, and I'll show you why. So back loop only of that one. When you get to the chain, instead of working around it, because if you worked in both loops here and worked in both loops here, it would be really difficult to get your hook through both of those loops. So I'm just going to be consistent and just do the back loop only of all of the chains and the stitches. And I'm going to do that all the way around, and I will meet you back at the opposite side of the cardigan. And we are ready to continue with the ribbing up around the cardigan, around the neck. So we're going to do the same thing. It's going to be 6 chains. So I'm going to do the same width that I did here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and turn. And I'm going to go into the chain, skip the first chain, and we're going to go into the second chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then working upward like that. So we're going to do our 2 slip stitches into that single crochet we did all the way around the neck of the cardigan. So our 2 single crochets or 2 slip stitches, turn, skip those first 2 stitches that are slip stitches and go into
the back loop only of our single crochet, and we're going to single crochet back and forth. And we're doing the same thing that we did around the base of the cardigan. The only thing that we are going to change, show you, the only thing we're going to change is if you would like to add buttons. I am going to add some buttons to this one. I have my first button is going to go here, second and third. You can add as many buttons as you want, or you could do none at all. So what I'm going to be doing is working my ribbing all the way from here, all the way up around.
I do have special instructions for going up around the neck.
All of these single crochets, and when I get here, I will meet back with you and show you how to do a buttonhole. And when we get to about the collarbone section of our cardigan, we are going to start slip stitching into 3 stitches instead of just the 2 like we did up the side. This is so that the um, collar around the neck is not loose. Like if you make it so that it is still just the 2 slip stitches in every stitch all the way around, your collar will end up raising up and it won't rest properly on your shoulders. So that's why from collarbone to collarbone is where I have found the best spot to start this is do 3 slip stitches and then turn into your row and go back and do 3 slip stitches, do your row and come back. And that should give you a nice fit for around the collar. So we're going to do that up around the collar and then down, and we will stop. I will stop when I'm ready to show you the buttonholes. Okay, I am at my first section for my buttonhole. I'm just going to show you the thing here. So at the bottom section, you find where you want your top button to be. And I'll show you how to attach the buttons later, but you want to know where your top button is going to be. So I've got my collar, and then I've got my first buttonhole here. When I put it on, I marked with a stitch marker where I wanted my first button to be. I know I want 3 buttons. So I have one here. I put my bottom one where I wanted that to land. And then I counted stitches in between to make sure that it's even there. So those are the points where I will put my buttonholes. And it's really simple to add a buttonhole. I got to my first marker here in that stitch. So I would connect my yarn here with a slip stitch. I'm going to remove that marker because I know where I'm at now. Do my second slip stitch like normal. I'm going to turn my work. I'm going to skip my first 2 slip stitches, single crochet into my back loop only. Now I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to skip that next stitch and single crochet in the back loop only of this stitch. And in the next remaining stitches, there we go, chain 1 and turn, single crochet into that back loop only, just like normal, single in the back loop, single in the back loop. When you get to your chain space, you're just going to single crochet into the back loop of that chain, a single crochet into your next stitch there, and just finish it off like normal. Slip stitch into those 2 stitches there and turn. And you're just going to do that the whole way down. And every time you reach a section that has one of your button markers, you're just going to do that same chain space right there. So you can see you have that buttonhole right there. I'm going to use a button about that size. I don't know if this is the one I'm going to use, but about that size. So you can see that you can slide it through that space right there and it won't slip back through. So that's what I want. One like this would be too big, I think. It would be hard to slide that through that stitch. And then you also want to make sure you're not going too small. So if you were to do something that size, that's too small for that space. It could slip back through pretty easily. So something about that. If you did want to do like a big button or something like that, that one's probably a little big. But if you wanted to do one like that we saw, if you left two chain spaces there, then that one would fit through just fine. But I'm gonna work the rest of the way down my cardigan down here, and then I'm going to finish it off like usual, and then I will meet you back to attach the buttons on the opposite side. All right, I have my buttonholes all done, and now I need to put my buttons onto the right spot here. So what you could do is you can count from the bottom. You know, there's 1, 2, 3. In between that third, there's that ridge there. You go and count up all of those if you would like to do it that way. You could also lay it on top and find where the buttonholes are and sew through there. I'm going to count ridges. So I know I've got on the bottom here that ridge right there. So I've got 1, 2, 3 full ridges, and it's in between that fourth one there. So these are the buttons. Oh, I love them. I asked my husband to help me pick them out, and I never would have picked these, but I love them because of it being such a big contrast. So he chose really well. Never would have picked it myself. All right, so I'm going to place my button here. I'm going to go up from the back of the piece, and I'm going to leave a tail in the back like that. Doesn't need to be that long. I'm just going to leave it long enough that I can tie it. So I'm going to go that. I'm going to keep my buttonholes horizontal like this, and I'm going to go corner to corner with the stitching. Just like that. Now I am going to clip it off, tie it to the back. I'm going to do about 4 knots there, and then I'm going to weave in those ends. I guess you could have left the needle on before and then weave it in that way, but that's what I'm going to do with that one. And then we have our lovely button right there. And then our next one, let's see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ridges there. There's that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 right there. So that would be